So it's definitely interesting. All of these actually have what we just talked about. Is like some of them have upsells just a little bit,
Mm.
but none of them. Well, okay, this one, gunk goes up to 45.
Mm.
That's especially for such a small goal that hits. But even the no H2O has a $40 tier, but it's for like retailers. It's like getting
Yeah,
multiple things.
they all really seem to be betting on a large number of people backing it, and
Mhm.
just trying to get a large number of people to back the book. Um,
And I can't even like fault them because I mean they are very early on. They've got lots of backers. All of them do. But again, it's one of those things that like if they have trouble, like that's one of my first things I look at is do the people that want to support them have an opportunity to support above and beyond.
right.
Now they all look really good. I'm actually like I'm kind of worried about Alpine simply because it's like page is so sparse.
Yeah, and it did really grab me with just one image, but
Mhm,
I'd love to see more. That said, the book itself is actually quite short. It's not an expensive
mhm.
one to buy. No, they're not asking for that much. I think 1,500 you can get with just, if you get enough people to just back it.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, they're let me take a look again. Like, they seem. How many did Alpine already have? Yeah, all right, 27. So yeah, I mean, like if we get that number go up, we'll be fine. But like you actually didn't like you had a $3,000 goal,
Yep.
and
And
really only about 40 people. Was it 40 or
yeah.
50?
So somewhere around 40.
Yeah.
Little north.
And I think like you really like made it by the people that really wanted to support you specifically.
Mhm.
And were interested in supporting at that really high level. Yeah, definitely, and not just these four, but like a lot of the ones that I was looking at this week, as I mentioned earlier tonight, like just really didn't want to upsell, like,
Yeah.
and yet really had incredibly high goals. Like I think I was one that had like, I think they were at 2,000 of 10,000, and just the highest tier was just like $20 by the book.
Mhm.
That takes
So like
that takes a lot of people.
yeah. And
Like we
I look at Vampire Detective in Space, which already has 2 grand raised of it
Yeah.
looks like 6 and 114 backers. Like I 114 backers is crazy to me. Like
Yeah,
with
we
how
are
I
we
do
are such
crowdfunding.
small time, you guys. We're kind of small time,
Yeah.
but growing.
Yeah. Um so like clearly they're doing something right that like I don't get yet. But
I really think that like a lot of these ones that we see knock it out of the park is just because they are individuals who have really built up reach.
yeah, that's
And I mean, like, to get 100 people on the first day, which a number of these did. Like, not I think like two of the
mhm,
ones that we looked at were just like first day 100 people.
mhm,
That means you've got 100 people in your sphere of reach that are ready to jump on day one.
mhm,
And I feel like that's just a thing that gets developed strongly over time rather than a thing you can really like get when you are starting a Kickstarter from scratch. And
mhm.
we, again, that whole like rise as a group thing is like I have been making comics for a very long time, and I've just never really grown my reach. It's not a talent I have, and it's definitely like an area of sharing artwork that I've struggled with. And it's great that I've got you, and I've got Fable, and I've got the Sakaga gang, and that we're all like starting to reach out there and share what we reach. And I feel like,
Mhm.
for the first time ever, I feel like I'm actually even able to contribute to that with networking here and
Mhm.
on Twitch Arts. And like, yeah, before, like, I was good at in real life networking.
Mhm.
I've got an amazing gift for that I never thought I'd
Uh,
have.
Oh, since we're done for the reviews for the week, it would be remiss of us not to talk about the community Kickstarter going on,
I think
which we were talking about earlier.
I might just pull that one up onto my screen because there's a friend of ours that you should really pay attention to if you like supporting some cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be our friend Fable.
Uh,
Why is that so small? What's that?
yeah. So, like I
Oh,
mentioned
it's
earlier,
the wrong
Fable's
one. I see.
making a TTRPG system with, let's see, it's a rules light, genre agnostic tabletop role playing game, but with less math, more customization, and faster encounters. And yep, that really just sells all the good things about it. It's great. I'm having like I mean, I've talked about it a lot and how I heard the pitch for it. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea, but probably not for me. And then I actually played it. I'm like, oh shit, this actually makes TTRPGs like way easier and appeals to what I like. So yeah, rewards. You can get PDF, a physical copy of the book. You can get your name in the acknowledgments. Like, so this is sort of what we're talking about. There's higher tiers too for just like things like a
Oh, it's
thank you
those guys.
card if you really go that high, or at the top you have Fable will actually like run a game for you, like Fable's running for us on Sunday. Uh, that's really cool. And I sort of like, obviously I'm not super at liberty to talk about like a lot of stuff, but I when you mention it's people getting these numbers are people with good reach, like I think it's not even necessarily that they have people already looking at their stuff. They just know how to get people to look at their stuff because this campaign, like it's already at 24 backers. A lot of those people are out of our networks. We don't know who they are, and a lot of them have
Love
come
that shit.
from yeah, a lot of them have come particularly from Kickstarter like advanced searches. So people are searching for something that hits that this project hits.
That's
Um,
cool.
there's a lot of there's a lot of theories as to what that might be, and I think a lot of things are going into it. Like I think this page is very well crafted. Personally, I mean, like that's me tooting my own horn because like
Ha!
let me not gonna lie, I made most of this page.
I made
A
this.
lot of the writing is Fable, but I like I made it pretty and parsable. Um, so like that's one of those things. I'm like, okay, something is right with this campaign that was not right with my Punchline is Death Kickstarter, and that's something I need to be like realistic and think about and learn from.
There's a level of where it's fair to compare and a level where it's not because they are two completely different products.
That is true. There's
And I think like a new RP system is a thing that someone might search for. It's like, man, I've got a campaign coming up, I got an idea for it, but I really don't like Pathfinder or whatever. And so let me see what is out there. And oh, hey, there's this weird Kickstarter that's got oh, hey, this sounds pretty cool. Yeah, actually, I want to try this. Whereas like a new fiction is an almost intimate affair. It's kind of like your your favorite media and your favorite movies and comics. It's like I discover comics because I am an uninclusive motherfucker about it.
mm-hmm.
I want them all, and I want to consume them all, and I want the weird stuff. I want the stuff that's outside of what I normally buy. I want stuff that's like beyond what I've like experienced. I want and so the only real way to like do that is to read them all because you don't know what you'll like. You don't know what's new until you read it. And like to give a parallel, I had a friend who is an indie music collector and had the exact same philosophy for music. He collected vinyl, particularly, and records, and just had just stacks and stacks and stacks of records. He was almost of the opinion that he hates, he doesn't hate, but he doesn't enjoy listening to the same song twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. But also, I get it because that's me with indie comics. The only way to fully grab it is to grab it all, and that's hard to fucking do. So, you're out there and you're like, I could go for a new comic. You're probably going to go for something that like everyone around you has already recommended. It's like, oh yeah, you're looking for a new comic? Good guy, buy Berserk, which I did recently. It's legendary. It's classic. It's classic literature. You should just read it.
So I think it's actually a really big folly to look at the success of one project and like I mean like it's when I say lack of success, I mean like don't get me wrong, Punchline is Death was successful, but the difference in scale and say it's only because they were different projects.
I do want to clarify. I want you to continue what you're thinking, but that's not what I'm implying. But I do think there is a difference between the products, and I think that is a contributing factor, not the only one. But I don't want to derail where you're going with this. So please continue your thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's just like I do theorize that the TTRPG community on Kickstarter is a bit more reactive, or proactive is what I meant to say, than the comic community on Kickstarter. Both have very strong communities, but like I have heard of more games coming out of nowhere from Kickstarter than I have comics coming out of nowhere from Kickstarter. That said, I don't think... Like, I certainly had never heard of Vampire Detective in Space. And I never heard of the person who wrote it. And yet, they got over 100 people on their first day. And I'm someone who pays attention to this stuff.
Yeah. A couple aspects of that is, like, on one hand, 100 isn't that many. But then there's like the principle that you talk about, where it's like there's your reach, and then there's the reactive portion of your reach, and one of the things that you and I have is, you know, despite our reach being on the small side comparatively for people that, you know, create media like as seriously as we do,
we have a very small but reactive and
exactly
like,
the number of
interactive audience.
The number of folks that actually chat with us, that actually, you know, back the things we put out it's all of you, apparently. Thank you. We appreciate that.
And
yeah,
it's like statistically they either have that same amount of audience or statistically they have such a pull that people are coming across this and thinking it's worth putting money into. And yes, that might be from followers. That's another thing that might come into play. But like, I want to understand what it is that when someone looks at a Kickstarter page, what makes them think, yeah, I'll put money into that. Because it's not always from reach. Like
all of this is like the many pieces that put together a successful campaign, or never mind just Kickstarter, like a successful career in art, a successful production of something creative, and the selling of it to, you know, people that would enjoy it. All of this is, you know, if there was a solution to this, then everyone that deserves to be a success would be a success. Which is a fallacy, because people tends to think that, because it was successful, that it deserved its success, and that's an argumentative fallacy. I forget which one.
There's also another thing that I almost more firmly believe is it never works the same way twice. And that's a bit of an exaggeration, but the same techniques for, say, becoming a full-time artist that people used 5 years ago no longer work. There's a certain level of trailblazing that is always going to be the case with, I mean, frankly, entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And there's lessons that can be learned. And that's sort of... like, that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to learn as much as I can and apply it to my personal approach. I don't know. I don't know.
I got you. I follow. It's almost as if like effective entrepreneurship requires a level of creativity. Fortunately, we're some creative motherfuckers.